if you're looking at RJ Barrett, a lot of his games have stunk. Tonight, he might have been the worst player on the floor tonight for the heavy rotation guys. So you have to consider that. But this is the trouble that I have with RJ, because I look at what he's doing and he's struggling a lot, and that's okay because of the fact that he still hasn't even played the equivalent of a full NBA season. And yet then I also think, well, but again, how many caveats do we necessarily have? And don't get me wrong, this isn't me giving up. This isn't me saying he's going to be one thing or another. It's more just kind of weighing all the options here and wanting to give him ample opportunity. And the reality is he's going to have that opportunity. He's going to continue to play, which is great. But we're going to have a much better idea of who he is after his third season. And right now we're at the beginning of his second, but hypothetically speaking, we're not really even at the end of his first, if that's how we're going about it. Because
he was on the verge of, and look, he's had some really nice moments. Where I disagree with you is for RJ, I don't think it's about the timeline. I think it's about the situation. And I've been saying it on the post games the last couple nights. He doesn't have the skill set to be a second guy on a good team.
Not right now, for sure. Yeah.
But so what has to, I went on a podcast, a different Knicks podcast earlier this morning. And I knew they were going to ask me about RJ because it was a podcast I went on previously. And I had some quote that like made the rounds. Oh, your cat's out. About RJ saying that like he had a bad year last year. So I knew they were going to ask me about him again. And I looked up, I was like, I wonder amongst players who are playing a certain amount of minutes and had played a certain amount of games and had a certain usage, where did RJ's effective field goal percentage rank in the league this year? And whatever the parameters I used, and I'm not going to try to look them up again right now because I don't care, but it was like 94 players and his effective field goal percentage was 92nd. He's struggling shooting the ball, and he's struggling shooting it from everywhere. He's struggling shooting it from outside. He is not converting tough looks at the rim. He had a few moments late in this game. So, he's not a guy you could be like, hey, go get me a bucket. Not right now, at least. So you then ask, okay, well, it's 10 games into his second season. Is there stuff that we could reasonably expect to change as he gets older? Yes, of course. His 3-point shot could start falling. He could continue to get even more patient when he has the ball in the post. And that will be aided, obviously, by more spacing, because you can't really be patient in the post if there are 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 arms coming at you because there are not a lot of shooters on the floor. So I think some of these things will start to happen, but, I guess there were people who expected him to come out and be like, I don't know, look like an all-star this year. And that's not really what's happened, which is fine. It's fine. It's okay. Yeah. But as long as we're honest about what's happening and then we go on from there.
And it's also why I still stand by the belief of, even if RJ becomes your alpha, pretend he's not, because then you're left with a situation where you have 2 alphas if things pan out. And if it doesn't, then you have someone who can either be a useful player or a useful asset in netting someone who's better.
He's going to be a good player.
It's the thing, though. He is.
Yeah.
Right. It's just patient.
He's more helpful than not right now, today.
Yeah.
Which you could not say about him last year.
Right. And then you think as well, again, to go back to what we've been talking about, if you get someone next to him, like an Oladipo type, it doesn't have to be Oladipo, but someone in the backcourt who can create constant pressure that, sure, like it can give RJ open looks. He has to hit them. He's certainly not doing a great job of that right now. But even if RJ uses his strength to bully his way in, there's still going to be pressure drawn to someone else like that Oladipo type player. Yeah. And that's inspiring to think about. And that's also why, again, this year just feels like it's not a blank slate, but it is because it's still year 1 of the Rose rebuild. But you still want it to be good enough that it's not the absolute worst.
Or is it actually year 0 because how many times are we going to make the joke? They said in college, wait till he gets some NBA spacing. And we're still waiting, right? Because as I love your cat. Your cat is the best. As Dallas came on, the podcast and talked about it this week, he's still sharing a starting lineup with 3 non-shooters. And actually, let me take that back, because I don't know that you could call Julius Randle a non-shooter anymore. He was 2 for 5 tonight from 3 or 3 for 5, whatever it was. He's keeping defenses honest, but he is a non-shooter in the respect that nobody's guarding Julius Randle. If Julius Randle wants to take a 3, Julius Randle is going to be allowed to take a 3. Mitchell Robinson, as you were delighted to point out before, when he wants to take a 3, it'll be right there for him. Elfrid Payton, same thing. So for all intents and purposes, he is sharing a starting lineup with 3 non-shooters.